Welcome in section 3, Understanding Components and Events. In the previous two sections, I've introduced you into TypeScript fundamentals and Angular framework. In this section, we'll be working with understanding component and events. So the very first thing we are going to cover what are Angular components and templates. Then we'll be creating our first Angular component, and at the end we'll be listening events. So in this video we are going to focus on Angular component and component templates. So what is an Angular component? Angular components are simply classes that are designed as a component with the help of a component decorator. Each component has defined a template and styles, which can communicate with the code in the component class. So let's go to see closer how our main application component is defined. In the previous video, we have created our first Angular application using Angular CLI. So what it does is create the basic app component. In the source folder, we can find app.component.ts. At the top of this file, we see that to create a component, we have to import a component member from Angular core. Then, as you can see, is a component decorator. You have a couple of configuration properties to define in a component decorator. So there's a selector, which is a name of the tag that component is applied to. We see that there is an app root. So if we go to the index.html, we'll find our app root element tag. So let's go back to the app component.ts. There is also a template URL, which points to the external app component.html, just like that. There is also a style URLs, which is an array that points to the bunch of styles external files. For example, appcomponent.css. And there is also a bunch of properties that we can define based on component needs. And all those things we can find on Angular.io API core component. Below the component decorator, we have a component class, where we define properties and methods. And what is really important that whatever you define in this class can be accessible in templates, like events, data binding, techniques, and so on. Okay, so we know how our basic app component looks like, but where this component is exported and placed. In the source folder, we can also find appmodule.ts. Our app component is imported. As you can see, every Angular app has at least one module, the root module. As we can see in app module, app component is imported and added into ng module decorator. In declarations, we put all components, directives, and pipes. In imports, we put all modules, like browser modules, or some third-party modules or libraries. In providers, we put all services. In Bootstrap, the main components to be bootstrapped in main.ts file, normally one only. Then our root module is imported in main.ts file. So let's go to the main.ts file. And as you can see, our app module is imported and bootstrapped using bootstrap module method. If you want to deeply understand the whole process of how components are instantiated and works under the hood, I really recommend you to check the Angular.io docs. Okay, so now we know the basics of the Angular component. So let's look into the Angular templates. So go to our app component.ts. And as you can see, there is a template URL property which points to the app component.html. to our template. So let's go there. And as you can see, there is a bunch of HTML tags like h1, images, h2, ULLI, and so on. But this is not the only method that we can create our templates. We can do that inline. So to do that, instead of template URL, we can create a property called template. And as a value, we have to provide a template string. And in template string, we can type, for example, a div with a message, hello Angular. So let's save that. Go to our browser. We have to remove that. Don't forget to run ngserve to compile our application and run on port 4200. Now go to our browser, and as you can see, there's a message, hello Angular, so it works. But to make our application clean, I highly recommend you to put all our templates in the external file. So let's remove that and use template URL, which points to our external app.component.html. Okay, so now how we can display a dynamic data in our template. Displaying dynamic data is called interpolation, and data is usually defined in the component class. As you can see, there is a title which is displayed in the template. So let's go to the template. Right here. Through interpolation, and it works by wrapping the title with double curly brackets. Let's change the title string to Angular template, for example, Angular template. Save that and go to our web browser. And as you can see, there is a title, Welcome to Angular template. So as you can see, we change our data to the other one. But what if we want to create a button? So let's remove the ULLI and h2, the image also. And let's create a button with title disable button. And now go to the app component.ts, and via data we want to disable our button. So we can create a property called disabled btn, which is equal to true. Now go to our app component.html, and let's try do that by using interpolation. Disabled btn. Save that. Go to our web browser. As you can see, our button is disabled, but let's change to false. Save that. Go to our browser. So in that case, it will not work, but we can use a property binding. We use interpolation to define the value as long as the value we are defining is a string. So in that case, it will not work, but we can use a property binding, which allow us to define element attribute values from the component class. So how we can do that? We have to wrap our property in square brackets. And after an equal sign, we can provide a disable btn, which will point to our property from our class. So let's save that, go to our browser, and as you can see, our button is enabled. So we can change again our disabled btn property to true, save that, and it's disabled. We will do some more advanced examples later in the course. So in this video we have learned what is the Angular component. We go through the application component, and also we have learned what is a component template, how we can create an inline template, and how we can modify our template.